The accidental message, Olivia Reed squinted at her laptop screen, the clock in the corner showing 2:17 a.m. Her small apartment was illuminated only by the harsh blue light of her monitor, empty coffee cups scattered across her desk like casualties of her ambition. 3 deadlines loomed in the next 48 hours, and the constant pressure of supporting herself and helping with her father's medical bills weighed on her shoulders like concrete. She'd been working on client pitches for 14 hours, straight when she decided to take a break. On impulse, Olivia opened her digital sketchbook and drew herself. Not the polished, professional version she presented to clients, but the truth. Dark circles under hollowed eyes, hair falling out of its messy bun, shoulders slumped with exhaustion. The sketch was raw, vulnerable, almost painful to look at, but there was something beautiful in its honesty. She titled it 3 a.m. Thoughts and saved it to her personal folder. "Just one more pitch," she mumbled, rubbing her eyes as she prepared the portfolio for Cassandra Williams, a potential high-profile client. She attached her best commercial work, added a personalized note, and hit send without double-checking the attachments. The moment she did, a cold wave of dread washed over her. Something felt wrong. Scrolling through her sent items, Olivia's heart sank. There it was, her personal sketch, accidentally attached alongside her professional portfolio. Worse still, in her exhaustion, she'd sent it to the wrong contact, Julian Frost, CEO of Meridian Innovations, whose details she'd saved earlier that day after reading an article about potential design contracts with his company. "No, no, no," Olivia whispered, frantically trying to recall the email. "System failure." It was too late. Julian Frost was known in business circles as the Glacier, calculating, ruthlessly efficient, and emotionally unreachable. After building Meridian from nothing, he'd developed a reputation for cold precision that made him both feared and respected. There were rumors about his past, about what had turned him so hard, but no one knew the truth. What they did know was that he had no patience for mistakes or weakness. Olivia sent a follow-up email apologizing for the error, but the damage was done. She finally fell into restless sleep at dawn, certain her carelessness had ruined any chance of working with Meridian. Meanwhile, across the city in a penthouse overlooking the skyline, Julian Frost sat alone in his home office. Another late night of endless reports and strategic planning. At 41, he had everything he'd fought for: success, power, respect, and none of it filled the emptiness that had been growing inside him for years. When Olivia's email arrived, he almost deleted it without opening. Another hopeful designer seeking work. But something made him pause. The subject line was professional, but the preview showed multiple attachments, including one oddly named file. Curiosity, a feeling he rarely indulged, made him open it. The portfolio was good, solid work that showed potential. But it was the sketch that made him stop breathing for a moment. The raw emotion in those few lines struck him like a physical blow. In a world of carefully curated appearances and strategic presentations, this accidental glimpse of genuine humanity felt like finding water in a desert. Julian stared at the image for a long time. Then, instead of deleting it as everyone who knew him would expect, he did something that surprised even himself. He replied. The unexpected response, Olivia nearly dropped her phone when the notification appeared. Julian Frost had replied at 4:32 a.m., barely an hour after she'd sent her mortified apology. Her finger hovered over the message, afraid of what it might contain. Would he be mocking her? Threatening legal action for unprofessional conduct? With a deep breath, she opened it. "Ms. Reed, I received your portfolio and the accompanying sketch. While your commercial work shows considerable technical skill, it was your self-portrait that caught my attention. In a world of filters and facades, your willingness to capture raw truth is refreshing. Meridian's upcoming sustainability campaign needs that authenticity. If you're interested in discussing it further, my assistant will arrange a meeting. JF." Olivia read the message 3 times, certain she was still dreaming. Not only had he not ridiculed her mistake, but he seemed impressed by it. And was that an offer of work? Her hands trembled as she typed her reply, accepting the invitation while maintaining professionalism despite her racing heart. 3 days later, Olivia found herself in the sleek, intimidating headquarters of Meridian Innovations. The receptionist led her to a conference room where Julian Frost waited alone, reviewing documents. In person, he was more imposing than his photograph suggested. Tall, with sharp features and penetrating gray eyes that seemed to evaluate everything with clinical precision. He wore his success-like armor, custom suit, and the subtle confidence of someone accustomed to absolute control. "Ms. Reed," he said, rising slightly as she entered. "Thank you for coming." The meeting was brief and focused. Julian explained the sustainability campaign, Meridian's initiative to rebrand as an environmentally conscious corporation. While his words were strictly professional, Olivia noticed something unexpected in his expression when he glanced at the portfolio she'd brought: genuine interest. "Your work has the emotional resonance we need," he concluded. "People are numb to corporate messaging. They need to feel something real." As Olivia gathered her materials to leave, Julian hesitated, then asked a question that seemed to surprise even himself. "The sketch you sent accidentally, what prompted it?" Olivia considered deflecting, but something in his carefully neutral expression made her answer honestly. "Exhaustion. Loneliness. The feeling that I'm always performing for others while hiding the mess underneath." She smiled slightly. "Not very professional, I know." "Professional is overrated," Julian replied, his voice softer than before. "We're drowning in professionalism and starving for authenticity." That brief exchange marked the beginning. After Olivia began work on the campaign, Julian would send occasional messages with feedback on her designs. Gradually, those messages evolved, happening later in the evenings, becoming less about work and more about ideas, observations, small glimpses into their lives. Through their exchanges, Olivia discovered that beneath Julian's icy exterior was a mind that noticed everything: the changing patterns of city lights at different hours, the subtle variations in the morning sky, the unspoken emotions behind people's practiced smiles. He shared these observations with surprising eloquence, revealing a sensitivity that contradicted his public image. In turn, Olivia found herself sharing more than she intended: her struggles as a freelancer, caring for her father after his stroke, her doubts about her work. Rather than seeing these admissions as weaknesses, Julian seemed to value her honesty. "Everyone else tells me what they think I want to hear," he wrote one night. "You're the only person who tells me the truth." 3 weeks into their unusual friendship, Olivia was working late when a message arrived from Julian. For once, the always-controlled CEO seemed unsettled. "Do you ever wonder if you've built your life around something hollow?" Olivia stared at her screen, sensing the weight behind his question. It was the first time he'd revealed any real vulnerability, and she understood the trust that represented. She replied not with platitudes, but with her own truth. "Every day. But then I remember that questioning the path means you're still alive enough to care." His response came after a long pause. "I've forgotten what that feels like. Being alive enough to care about something beyond the next quarter's projections." As weeks passed, their conversations deepened. Julian began sharing fragments of his past: his childhood in poverty, the ruthless determination that built his empire, the gradual realization that success had cost him his humanity. Olivia shared her dreams beyond commercial design, the art she created for herself that no one ever saw. Two people who should never have connected found in each other a safe harbor for their truest selves. Neither acknowledged the growing importance of these exchanges, but both began arranging their lives around them. Anticipating the notification sound that meant the other had reached out across the digital void that separated their worlds, neither realized how much they needed this connection until circumstances threatened to sever it completely.